Did you know that one unforgettable Christmas, a music mogul broke down behind bars with no one there to help him? In today's exposé, we dive into the jaw-dropping story of Diddy, Combs, a once untouchable icon, now caught in a legal firestorm threatening to shake the very pillars of Hollywood. Leaked tapes, hidden evidence, explosive courtroom drama. All of it paints a chilling picture, one that links Diddy to a series of scandalous events, including a conspiracy theory tying him to the tragic death of pop star Aaron Carter. Online, the buzz has exploded, but the biggest question remains: what really happened behind closed doors at those infamous freak-off parties? Could critical evidence allegedly concealed by his own legal team be the missing link in a decade-long cover-up? Stay with us as we peel back the layers, question everything, and expose secrets long buried in the shadows.
Diddy ringing in the new year with a jailhouse meltdown, at least according to some new reports. All this comes as the disgraced singer spends his first holiday season behind bars, and a judge rules one of his accusers can remain anonymous. By now, you're well aware that 55-year-old Sean Combs, also known as P. Diddy, is being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. He's facing federal charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The charges came down in September when a grand jury indicted Diddy, half a year after those federal raids were first performed on his homes. Since he was booked, Diddy has made several bids for bail, hoping to get back to one of those homes or an apartment on New York's Upper East Side.
You might have thought this period before the trial was going to be the calm before the storm. I did. Wrong. On April 3rd, the government released another superseding indictment. That's the third one we've had now, but this time it adds on 2 additional criminal counts against Diddy. Now, we're just over a month from opening statements. Why file it now? Does it leave the defense enough time to prepare?
Those 8 videos, 8 celebrities, 6 men and 2 women. How many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage?
2 males.
2 males. And of those 8 celebrities, how many of them were intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if they were. Right.
Sure.
Appear to
Let me
be,
rephrase it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appeared to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
All of them. All of them.
About 15 years old. And I remember him just sitting down with me, being like, this is kind of like what you got to do, Aaron.
It all began at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, where Diddy, now 55, found himself spending what should have been a joyful holiday alone in a jail cell. Sources say that on Christmas Day, overwhelmed and desperate, he begged for medical attention, fearing he was on the verge of a breakdown. But his pleas were reportedly dismissed by prison guards, leaving him isolated and spiraling on a day meant for warmth and family that he had counted on his high-powered legal team to secure his release. But the silence that met his expectations was a crushing blow. For a man used to power and influence, this was a moment no one could have foreseen.
Combs will officially not be home for the holidays after a judge just denied him bail now for the 3rd time. Diddy's been behind bars since September and will likely now remain there until his trial date, which is in May of 2025. Combs' lawyers tried just about everything at this point to get him released, offering a $50 million bond, a 24-hour security team, a home monitoring system at his Upper East Side Manhattan apartment. They tried it all, but the judge still felt that, quote, no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the safety of the community. So why is Diddy deemed so dangerous?
But Judge Subramanian, he didn't bite on that, and Diddy's bail was denied for the 3rd time. According to a report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him. If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, he eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it.
I believe the reports, and obviously Diddy is someone who's rich and famous and has lived a life of luxury for many years, and now he's in federal prison during the holidays. So this isn't someone who's a hardened criminal who has spent a lot of time in custody. So the fact that he's spending Christmas and New Year's and future holidays in prison is probably finally getting to him. So I'm not surprised that he cracked. You know, he looks like he's lost some weight and he has some more gray and white hairs. I think it's taken a toll on him. And I think that he expected, for some reason, that he would be out on bond. And obviously that hasn't happened. There were 3 different bail applications that were denied by 3 different judges, and ultimately they withdrew their appeal. So now that it's hitting him that Diddy's going to be in custody at least until May 2025, I think he's just having a tough time coming to terms with it. Because like you said, here's someone that had multiple private jets, you know, homes in New York, Miami, Los Angeles, and all of a sudden his only home is his prison cell, and he's not getting the Christmas dinner with his family that he had. And we all saw the video of him having to spend his birthday in prison as well.
Instead of his usual bravado, sources say he turned to meditation techniques he had picked up during his time in detention, clinging to these practices to keep himself together in an environment that was anything but forgiving. While a representative insists Diddy is tougher than ever, the image of a man used to commanding the stage, reduced to a vulnerable soul in a cold cell, has captured everyone's attention.
This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's suicide watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protective unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay. But Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this meltdown over the holidays, at least according to one source.
And as Les Trent reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs spent his first night behind bars inside a facility that is being called Hell on Earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here.
I spent the evening with him. I was with him until about 1 o'clock. His spirits are good. He's confident. He is dealing with this head on, the way he's dealt with every challenge in his life. And he's not guilty. He's innocent of these charges. We know what the charges are going to be without seeing the indictment. It's going to be racketeering. It's going to be trafficking. It's going to be things along those lines. This is what we've been expecting since the search is in March. He, to his great credit, he voluntarily came to New York. Not a lot of defendants do that. He came to New York to basically engage the court system and start the case, and it'll start today.
Well, honestly, Jesse, I feel like Diddy's appearance was probably the biggest story that happened inside that hearing. There was kind of an astonishing whoa when he walked inside that courtroom because he appeared noticeably grayer. I would even kind of equate it a little bit to Santa Claus, but he just appeared grayer. His hair was a lot whiter. Now, remember, the last time I was inside one of Diddy's hearings, that was back in December. We're in March, so that's just a 3-month time span of just that intense grayness. So either him being at MDC Brooklyn for this amount of time is weighing on him, this federal case is weighing on him, maybe even his fall from grace entirely is probably weighing on him, but he just looked visibly different. I will say, though, last time he appeared thinner. This time it seems like he did kind of pack on a little bit of pounds, and I don't say that in a
stripped of the bravado he once flaunted. Insiders say Diddy turned inward. relying on meditation techniques he'd learned during his time in custody to stay grounded in an unforgiving environment. Though his representatives claim he remains strong, the contrast is stark. A global icon who once owned the spotlight, now reduced to a solitary figure seeking solace in silence. The image is haunting and the world is watching. Behind the cold walls of detention, the story of Diddy's unraveling is no longer just about scandal. It's about survival.
Hundreds of hours of video and audio recordings of Diddy's illegal behavior. We now know this is what the feds were searching for on March 25th, when they executed search warrants at Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. At the time, we only speculated that investigators collected electronic evidence, but now we know for sure. According to the indictment against Diddy, investigators seized more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant from his home. The court doc states these items were used in something referred to as FreakOFFS, which were elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded.
Yeah, we cottoned on pretty quick, didn't we, in that interview a few months ago, that she was talking about something that might have been taped, or a lot of things that might have been taped and on video in his possession.
Absolutely. You know, Tracy told us that her suspicion was that federal agents were specifically looking for video evidence, for digital evidence, whether that was flash drives, hard drives, you know, home security systems, those kinds of things. And we now know, after Combs's arrest and the indictment, that she was correct, that what they've discovered is video evidence.
And she's pretty strong on that point, isn't she? What'd she say? About 80 to 90% of what's being said could be on video, and it's a pretty scary.
That's crazy, but the feds, they also revealed that they got photos and videos of Diddy FreakOFFS.
When they did that raid, you understand, what they did was, prior to the raid, they reviewed that civil lawsuit. And that civil lawsuit told, Cassie's civil lawsuit was LeRod had already did it. LeRod hadn't did his yet, did he? Did LeRod do his lawsuit before the raid or after the raid?
Oh, before.
Yeah, so what they did was they reviewed both of those civil lawsuits and found that there was some criminal activity in those lawsuits.